So, this rock opera, what is it?
It's based off of a book by an author named Harold Bell Wright. He was a early 1900s, late Victorian era writer. He would have been a contemporary of Samuel Clemens or Mark Twain, Dickens even. You know, there was a small group of writers along that time who really were bestsellers, sold like 1 million books. You know.
So, which book is yours based on?
It's based off of his book entitled The Uncrowned King. I found a copy online, basically. I mean, where do you go to find, a book that's that old? So I found a copy online, read it, realized that it was an allegory, which was cool and really unusual for the time period. I loved it. I loved the concept. I loved the language.
Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncrowned King is a lot like Pilgrim's Progress.
Allegorical language.
Yep. Christmas Carol. Kind of like the two melded together. The structure is interesting, though, in that it's a story that bookends another story.
Right. It's a story and a story.
Yep.
Structure, just the structure of the story, everything about it was really inspiring.
So, what's it about?
That's the $1 million question. The allegory is frustratingly abstract, so it's really hard to pinpoint exactly what he was trying to convey. I've been reading it now for about 10 years solid and thinking about it, talking about it with friends and trying to get to maybe what he was trying to communicate. But, Harold's not around with us anymore, so we can't really ask him. So whatever it is you're going to get is pretty much my interpretation of what I think he was trying to say.
Then it'll be a story within a story within a story.
Right.
Which, I mean...
It is a story within a story. There are kind of a bookmark.
Yeah.
Or kind of bookends, and then there's the Uncrowned King.
You've got this guy that's a pilgrim looking on his journey to the Temple of Truth. Then when he gets there, he's put in a room that overlooks the sea and is visited by the different voices that you hear on the album.
4 voices of life, which are kind of like you'd mentioned Christmas Carol. They're kind of like the Christmas Carol ghosts.
And they tell him the story of the Uncrowned King.
Right.
Within his journey for truth.
Right, right. Now, the Uncrowned King itself, the story is kind of like Twain's Prince and the Pauper kind of plot.
So, as an allegory, what do you think is the bigger idea he's trying to convey?
In the Uncrowned King, once we get into the story of the Uncrowned King, he's set up a world where there are kind of this utopia of religion. So there are, everyone's got their own religion, everybody has their own God. And then he projects in the future, there's a land where there's only one God.
It's not really about religion.
No.
Per se.
No, it's not about religion really at all, because that's the allegorical language. So it can't be that. In other words, he's using that allegorical language to try to express another more complex idea. I believe that he's using this pluralistic society that he's set up to be now, today. He even calls it all the time as the name of the land. Historically, to really understand what he's doing, you have to look at the historical context, because he was right there at the 1900s. So science just exploded in the previous century of the post-Enlightenment thinkers. Nietzsche had just published also Sprague Zarathustra 25 years prior, and there's a new way of thinking going on, and it's affecting how people perceive truth. Again, being a very nuanced thinker, he realized that, or he observed that, if you just derive truth from your senses, well, everybody sees things differently. Everybody experiences things differently. Everybody kind of feels things differently. All these things with our senses are all. If that's what we're going to base truth on, well, you're going to have a pretty chaotic society. It's going to be kind of dystopian, and that just followed the 1900s. That's effectively what happened. Now there's not even really a notion of truth. Ask the common man on the street, and they'll probably say, there isn't a truth, or I've got my own truth, or whatever. So it kind of did play out that way. So in a way, Harold was trying to save the transcendental nature of truth.
I was enamored by his writings too in that form, because he acknowledges first and foremost that we're all the same, and that we are on this, whether you call it your quest for truth or your life experiences or your truth or any of that. He examines that. But at the same time, he wasn't saying this is the truth. He was saying the quest for truth or the journey for truth is just as important. Being brave enough to take that journey for truth and lose sometimes those core beliefs can be challenged too.
So is this going to be like a giant single release like Tales from Topographic Oceans or Lamb Lays Out on Broadway? And how did you get all of this into musical form?
Definitely a challenge. We ended up breaking it up into 2 releases. So in the first release, we hope to release it in the spring 2021. But it will have the opener with Pilgrim, the Temple of Truth and all that, and then it'll have first 2 Voices of Life, the first 2 visitations. Kind of get half of the story of the Uncrowned King. And then the second release, you'll get Voices 3 and 4 and a little closer piece. So that's how we broke it up. So you put them both together and you get the whole thing.
So there you have it. Evership's third and fourth albums coming soon. The Uncrowned King.